Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Ray Orsini, and this is MSP Community Live, where we cover all the hottest stories across all the best communities in the MSP universe. Joining me this fine, scary Friday the 13th is Mr. Henry Timm of Phantom Technology Solutions. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing?
I'm good. And beyond, being one of those MSP guys, we don't talk about those people. You also are co-founder of the Tech Degenerates, an amazing online community. You want to talk a little about that real quick?
Sure. So the Tech Degenerates is a group of MSP owners and vendors that kind of got together to share resources and pool knowledge in between events, and it's kind of flourished and grown from there over the last year.
Awesome. And very cool group to be part of, and always at events and doing awesome other stuff. And our resident angry old man yells at clouds, Mr. Jason Slagle. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Got some clouds for me to yell at.
Yeah. How was your week so far, man?
Oh, it's a long. I'm mentally tired and done. So I get to leave between work stuff, and then now I'm in charge of popcorn for our entire scout troop. So I have like $10,000 worth of scout popcorn at my house, and I had a bunch of people come by yesterday to pick it up, and now I get to go camping with the scouts tonight. So yay! But yeah,
Camping
good.
fun.
Otherwise, I mean, it'll be a good camp out. Like they're doing water sports, so I think I might get to try to water ski. I haven't water skied in years, so it should be fun.
That's cool. Is popcorn selling easier or better than the coupon books? Because I hated the coupon book.
The coupon books suck. I mean, the popcorn is so expensive. You just have to view it as it's a donation to scouts. In this case, it's a donation directly to Jacob because he gets 33% of the direct proceeds into a
Oh,
scout
nice.
account, which is supporting us going
Oh,
to
nice.
Seabase next spring.
Okay.
So it's a donation to scouts with popcorn as a prize.
That's cool. So if you see Jason around, buy some popcorn.
I'll probably
This
do a
guy.
post somewhere. I'm gonna make my son record something, and I'm gonna post it out on LinkedIn. Today would
I'm
probably
doing the
be a good
same
day to
thing.
do it this evening since it's Friendship Friday, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. No, I'm doing the same thing with my 11-year-old Geo. That we're setting up an Etsy store so I can show with this little craft and printed crap, but to show them logistics, customer service, sales, marketing, blah blah, and get them in that mix. So speaking of
Bring
And
them to
that,
Code
what do you have
Nash.
on? Yeah, what do you have on the printer behind you today?
oh, I actually have three printers running right now. These are stirring sticks because my dog's needs. She's old, so she needs like even wet food, like mixed with water and stuff. And yeah, it was just easier to print these.
Awesome.
And then I'm printing some luggage hooks downstairs, backpack hooks, because we get so many great backpacks from events. I'm sure you have more than a few backpacks around. And then I'm printing something to put my Mac Studio under my desk on the other printer. I kind of went crazy. So yeah, and where are you at, my
A few
friend?
things going. I am at TechCon Unplugged in Hanover, Maryland today. A lot of people, I'm sure, know Paco LeBron. This is his community event that is kind of run by MSPs for MSPs type of thing, and a lot of big name people out here for it. So excited out here until Sunday.
Big fans of Paco and Rick and everything they do together. This is an awesome event, smaller event, but definitely awesome event to go visit. It's definitely on my list and conflicts with my schedule every single time. So, but yeah, I'm glad you're out there. I'm sure you're having. I'm sure it's an amazing event. I know Marvin's out there too. Marvin being some other of our friends.
Yeah.
But speaking of stuff going on, we got some stories as usual. Those who have seen Jason's post are probably not surprised at all as to what we're going to talk about at some point. But first, we're going to talk about this one. Does ACE make users lazy? We'll go ahead and bring this up here. And there we go. So, what do we got here? We have at a certain point, my MSP, my 20-year MSP, I decided to drop all break fix, go strictly managed. I don't regret it, but I noticed providing quick response, effective support with no financial barrier has an unfortunate downside. Most clients are long term, so they know they're going to get a quick and effective answer. We regularly get dumb tickets that users could have easily solved on their own. Since we sell based on ACE, it's hard to justify imposing any kind of financial barrier to this, and we can't force clients to hire tech-savvy people. The only thing we really do with these tickets is wait 59 minutes. Our SLA is 1 hour to respond, hoping they'll take some responsibility on their own. Ace is still worth it from sales. We bill enough to make it worthwhile, but I would like to do anything I can to curb these tickets. This is a common concern with people talking about per device per user and ACE and block hours and all that stuff. This is actually one of those, more higher contained things, and this is the fear. This is the chief fear for anybody going ACE. Henry, you've dealt with this. What's your view on this?
So I think there's a couple things here. Is one, if you're offering all you can eat services like that, you really need to have a good handle on what your profitability is on that contract with the client, and be understanding whether or not you need to add kind of that pain in the ass fee for those more difficult individuals or clients, especially if their use base is just throwing constant garbage at you. But you should also have something built in where in resources to those clients to be able to try and alleviate some of the knowledge gaps there. So having a FAQ and knowledge base that your clients can access, and providing some of that continuing education to them is key to cutting down on a lot of that.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a big John Helms and LinkedIn saying, don't forget to call out all former Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts. I was a Boy Scout. I stopped just before Eagle. Henry, did you ever do Scouts?
I didn't, but funny enough, the property where I lived actually used to be a Boy Scouts camp prior to acquiring it. So there's all the old buildings and campsites and so forth out there still. So yeah.
Can our troop come camp there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, quite honestly, there's all the old outhouses, picnic shelters, and it was Camp Anderson back in the day.
Oh, very cool. All right, Jason. So what say you here, dude? You've dealt with this. You've been in MSP
I
for a
deal
while.
with this every day. Like, I'll echo what Henry said, right? It's like, if you've got users repeatedly ask us the same questions, man, that sounds like a great opportunity to do a lunch and learn, right? Like, educate the users, rig them up there a little bit. I also question, like, why is the SLA on every ticket priority an hour, right? Like, those little, like, silly things like that come in as low priority to me, right? So, I mean, the SLA on them is many hours, and they get scheduled out, like, as we have time. Like, no one's dropping everything to grab that ticket. But then, I mean, the last piece of that is, you probably sold it that way. You probably sold it like, you can reach out to me with anything technical. You can't then be mad if a user comes out and reaches out to you with anything technical. Like, you told them to do this, and then now you're mad they're doing it. Like,
I can already hear Gary Pica screaming fuzzy edges. I can hear, whatchamacallit, Rob Scott and Brad Gross screaming, you have to have clear definitions on what your contract provides and doesn't provide, and your protections. This to me is no different than those people that ask, how do you, when you have a client that asks for 24/7 support, what do you tell them? And the answer is, if you can support 24/7, you consider it. And if you can't, you say no. Like, it's not, don't sell what you can't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, and honestly, if the agreement's profitable, who cares, right? Like, it's one of the, so, maybe you can make the agreement more profitable. But again, this goes back down to a tenet that I've long said. Companies turn bad and evil when they try to eke out that last 1 or 2% of profit points, right? Like, in almost every case, the thing we're going to talk about today, in almost every case with companies, they could lose 1 or 2 percentage points of margin, and all of their customer service complaints would go, or most of their customer service complaints would go away. Their net promoter score would go up, right? Like, all of the positive things would happen. In the end, I argue you actually make more money because of the goodwill that brings. It brings more customers, right? So I think it's a relatively short-sighted mindset to be trying to optimize away things that make your users generally happy.
Well, okay, so I'm going to step it back. My perspective is not even financial. Yes, protect your financial, protect your revenue, make sure it's not and you have your ABC clients. We've all heard that speech before. But my view is also, I don't want to torture my staff, and I don't want clients that there's certain clients that create their own problems. Let's be honest. There's people that create their own problems.
Yes,
And
there
actually,
are.
we're going to talk about that in another story too. But, so we've always allowed it, and we continue this to this day, but we started this as the MSP, where the staff could absolutely nominate a client for termination. Now, we did that as a staff meeting. We all got together. They provided their points. They had to provide the data showing it. We did provide the financials of how much we were making off the client, the historical financials over the lifetime of the client, depending on the age of it. So we taught them to make intelligent decisions of say, okay, guys, we're doing this. Was this just a bad interaction? Is this a problem client? Is this somebody who doesn't align with our goals as a company? Is this just a bad day? You know what I mean? And I don't care how profitable it is within reason. There were some clients we let go because it just wasn't worth it on the burden on the staff. Similarly, I've always told clients I want this to be a good relationship for both of us. If it's not for both of us, we should look at transitioning. So there's that play too. Personally, I agree with you. Funny enough, we also have a QBR topic to talk about. But if you're properly doing QBRs, you're looking at the ticket trends, you're looking at the stuff that's coming in, you can do those lunch and learns. Those are all opportunities for engagement with the client, and they're going to appreciate you're teaching them how to be more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
The only thing that gave me like serious ick on that whole thread was a whole wait there 59 minutes on the SLA before calling back. Like,
that's
the minute
dumb.
you start getting petty, dude, like that's just.
But that again, that's the optimizing for profit then essentially, right? It's like we're gonna be. I mean, to the TBR point, bring it up in a TBR, like because the TBR isn't with that user almost certainly, right? Like
shouldn't be.
Yeah, one of the metrics and one of the data points that we often try to present, I don't know that we always do, but it's in our sheet of things that they can and do present is number of tickets per user, right? Like which of your users are the noisiest, right? That should surface that right away. Or you look at the data and you go, I'm making a problem where there isn't one.
And for those that want to, they're like TBR, TBR, TBR. Absolutely. And what's up, Cody? I saw you there, dude. Let's see. We got what you call it. For those that want to talk TBRs, we actually do have that subject that we will cover. But we have Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing, man? I did enjoy scouting because I thought it was lame, and I really wish I knew how to tie some knots or build a fire. Child me was dumb. Don't sell what you can't do. Agreed, 100%. What about that wisdom of fake it till you make it? That's actually not wrong. It's right in context here. We've all said that enough ourselves sometimes in certain situations.
Yeah. If fake it till you make it falls out of the window as soon as there's contractual agreements involved, right? You can't fake it. You can't lie on a contract saying you can do something you can't and then just fake it till you make it, because then you're just in breach as soon as you can't do it.
Well, and I think there's a tolerance of what people are willing to accept of just outside of your grasp or knowledge level. Like if I'm going to try and fake it till I make it that I'm a surgeon, that's not going to go very well very quickly. But if there's a tangential topic of something that I'm already doing, then it's going to be a lot easier to do that whole fake it till you make it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I will be honest. I absolutely sold more than I was prepared for. Back in the day, I was also brazen enough and stupid enough to have the confidence to say I'll figure it out. I talk about being the king of F around and find out. And it honestly, it did work in my benefit many, many, many times. I had that confidence. I also got into some ridiculously stupid and complicated things I never should have been in. Nowadays, my feelings are I'm comfortable telling the client, look, we don't know. We'll look into it. We'll absolutely research it. But there's a version of this where I don't know what the hell, where we're going to have an outcome that I can't help you. And at best, I'll be able to point you to somebody else that can, or we'll engage somebody else we can. I think that's a better play nowadays than screw around. There's something you can sell and know, and you can figure out on the back end. Done it plenty of times. That stuff I have no problem with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do it all the time.
If it's a new, Entra thing application, or if it's a new, that stuff, moving EDRs, like, come on.
A good portion of the things that come in from the Lawrence Technology YouTube channel to us that we act on are things that, like, we have general knowledge in the area, but I don't know how to do the specific thing they're asking, but we have enough general knowledge, we figure it out. Like, if as an industry we only sold things that were documented and everyone knew how to do, then no one would do anything new.
Are you saying we don't document absolutely everything?
But you can't document it until you do
It's
it. Like, I think
documented
in
on
service
Google.
leadership that says you lose money the first 7 times you do a new service, right? Like, because you're figuring it out as you go along and it takes 7 times to build the process. You need those 7 times.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And the way you accomplish that is, that's completely up to each individual. Now, here's the big one. Here's the
To be fair, I did not bring this to Reddit.
no,
and I wouldn't have.
You've been asked. You're like, I thought about pointing, and you're like, no. So we both agree somebody was going to pop up. And for those that don't know, talking about, I'm sorry to have paused it there.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to screenshot that. I'm going to send this to my Slack because they're totally going to turn it into an emoji.
Oh, for sure. Henry, you want to read this one first before we kick it off to Jason?
Oh boy. So the topic is discussing about vendors paying off MSP communities to censor posts and some of the content that's on there. So this user submitted a video that Jason had recorded, which I'm sure we will discuss in more detail here. But they're saying supposedly an email that originated from Kaseya and their internal teams there got switched over and found its way to a couple different people's hands, and it indicates that they are talking to different Facebook communities and using their influence and finances to control the content that's being posted there, to negatively remove negative comments about this particular brand, and promote their brand, as well as the email itself also discussed some kind of, I feel, shady tactics in regards to other competitors in the space. So
since Henry, you and I are both leaders of different communities, I think we should get this out up front. Are you, sir, paid by Kaseya to promote or kill content?
No, actually, they are a banned term treated as a cuss word in our community. So you can talk about Special K, but no, we do not take any financing from them. I'm assuming you don't as well.
No, I can speak for our MSP, and I can speak for MSP's RS Discord. Absolutely not. While our founding member, Matt Topper, also co-host here, is the founder of our MSP and currently works at ConnectWise. Those two things have nothing to do with each other. He started it when he was at his MSP. And the rest of us, we are open to all vendors, and we have good relationships with many vendors. And I will tell you, Kaseya absolutely messages me when there's something of concern. But they have the same rules as everybody else, and we take zero money from anybody, period. You screw up, we'll talk about it. You do great, we'll talk about it. Regardless, we're going to talk about it. Zero censorship unless there's disrespect. So that's the final word from our MSP Tech Degenerates and MSPs RS. So, now, with that said, come on, Jason. They're just marketing, man. What's wrong with it?
Well, so a couple of things here, right? So the FTC is pretty clear about what does and does not have to be disclosed there, right? So like if you are taking money from somebody for paid sponsorship or paid reviews, by law you are required to disclose that. And August 14th, those laws actually changed in such a way that if you are paying people to remove bad reviews, you are also required to disclose that. Right. So like this could be the case of, right, like, so if Tech Degenerates is taking sponsorship from companies and those sponsorships at all influence how they discuss those companies, they are required by law to disclose that. Right. Like Dave Sobel does a really good job of doing that. He's got an entire ethics page that talks about, his ethics. It even talks about the stocks he holds, because there's like insider trading. You don't want to get on the wrong side of the SEC, right? Like there's all of those concerns that go into this. But I mean, generally, I find we've suspected for a long time that this stuff's been going on in the communities I'm involved with. I mean, obviously, I'm on the board of MSP Geek now. I can definitively say we banned their bots from MSP Geek. They were there, right? So like, there's been a lot of speculation in the YouTube comments and on Kaseya or on the Reddit post. Like, is this true? Like, this sounds like a lot of hearsay and a lot of conjecture. What I can tell you definitively is that both Cyberdrain and MSP Geek have kicked the bots that are referenced in the original email. It's a product called Wildfire. We have kicked the Wildfire bots out of our communities. They were present, right? So we can confirm at least that piece of the email as being true.
Yeah, and I think the other pieces of the named communities, primarily the Facebook communities, it's disappointing if it's true. I think one of the positives to come out of this, though, regardless of the authenticity, is a lot of the community leaders, such as yourselves, are coming together to put together kind of a open blanket MSP community ethics policy that I think will hopefully hold a lot of people accountable and at least give people in those communities some peace of mind that things are on the up and up for whatever communities they are joined into.
Yeah, it's yeah, Jason, I apologize. You being the MSP Geek Board was announced this year, so it's still new to me. But yeah, absolutely. And that I can say we have absolutely kicked Astros turfing accounts specifically from Kaseya. We've actually kicked them from multiple vendors. They're not the only one. I will say they're on the higher end of the number of accounts we've kicked for astroturfing or setting up their own post. There's another vendor right now using a post against one vendor, and they're using that as a Reddit ad to promote themselves. And there's some question as to, is that post even real, or did they post that themselves? Or did they ask permission to if it was a real post? You know what I mean? Like there's lots of the vendors are getting very creative. They know the communities have a lot of interest, a lot of collaboration, very, very active. And any one of the communities, right? MSP Geek, Tech Degenerates, our MSP Tech Drive, the Facebook groups. There's lots of activities and people talk, and vendors know they're, myself included, I'm a vendor, know there's absolutely market there. I kind of excuse myself because I was actually born out of the community as opposed to like using it to my benefit. So it's a little different. But let's talk about some positive. Jason, I know you're going to do some of this, but why don't you tease a little bit?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some positives, what you would like to see, especially being an MSP Geek Board member, being somebody in charge of communities.
Man, I believe in as much transparency as you can afford to give, right? Like, you don't have to be you don't have to give all of your trade secrets, right? You don't have to give financials, you don't have to give the stuff that's proprietary, right? But like, when you have an issue, be transparent about it, right? Like, don't go on stage and claim that, like, well, less than 1% of people have billing errors, right? Like, well, 1% of 100,000 is still a large number, right? Like, it's and empirical evidence indicates the number is probably actually considerably higher than that. I believe in education, right? Lead education first, right? Like, and don't in by education, I don't mean like teach us how to use features in your product. Teach us things, right? And then at the end of that discussion is how to teach us things. You can definitely, put your little sales pitch in there, right? Like, this is a big problem I have even with a lot of events, is that you get a lot of these paid speaking slots, which, by the way, that's another pet peeve of mine. They're not always disclosed that they're paid speaking slots, and they end up just being sales pitch for a product. It's like, if you have a product that does TBRs, I'm going to tie this into the topic you guys are about to discuss.
There you go.
And then tell me how to do great TBRs. And then at the end say, if this shit's hard, we have a tool you can buy to do it, right? Like, to make it a lot easier, and just generally be good people. I joined Evolve about 6 months ago, and one of the first things they did is they give you a copy of a book called The Go Giver. right? Like
Love that book.
I encourage anybody that is in a community role at any vendor to go get a copy of that book and read it. It's short. You can read it in like 90 minutes, right? But it lays out like it's a fable, right? So it's not a boring read because it's written as a story. And it lays out like a pathwork to basically leading by being a good person and giving back, right? I have long believed that the companies that do that correctly build raving fans that they don't have to pay people to take negative reviews down. They don't have to create astroturfing accounts to come in there and do it. I'm going to cite Huntress as a prime example of somebody that does this very well. No one pays anybody to go defend them when anything negative comes up on Reddit, right?
But they
Like
get accused of it
Oh, 100% they do,
all the
but
time.
like they're so like community forward and so engaged with the community and giving, and do things that cost them money that don't necessarily return immediate ROI. That when something bad happens, they've built a giant conglomeration of people that love them, that love what they do, that love how much they give back, and those people will natively come to their defense.
And I think a big part of that is established because of the accountability that they take. And you can look at anyone that you can, vendors or individuals in the channel that people like and trust, is because they do have that accountability of, hey, shit's going to go wrong at some point. We're going to make a mistake somewhere, own it, fix it, and figure out how you're addressing it moving forward. And I think people that show that transparency and accountability are those that they do build those raving fans. Then
That's one of those things. We people that I talk to about this, like, how to get in the industry and how to talk, how to start engaging communities, that kind of thing. I tell them, you're going to screw up at one point, multiple points probably. Even if you didn't screw up, you're still going to piss somebody off just because they don't like how you do something. It happens. I personally, there's a mantra that Navy SEALs follow called "Embrace the suck." You just lean into it. You are absolutely right. I screwed up. Sorry this happened this way, or sorry whatever happened. This is what it is. If I can help, I help. If not, look, completely understand your feelings. This is just our policy. I got reamed a new one a couple weeks ago because the guy didn't like our policy. And you know what? What am I going to do? Argue with it? Like, there's no point to that. You know what I mean? But don't try to deny it. For God's sake, don't try to deny it. And please don't spin it into a positive. Don't try to start spinning it into like some marketing shit. Or, what kills me the most? When they're dismissive and they say, but our other partners don't have this problem. Well, that's not relevant. You're taking my money. Like, you're working with me. I'm the one that's got to be taken care of, like, within reason, of course. But that kind of stuff, it's not complicated.
Our industry's different than that too. Our industry respects the idea that we're all valuable, and I think that you see people rush to help each other rather than put each other down. So having that transparency piece of it, I don't know what the fear is there, because people are going to try and to either assist or have some empathy for whatever you're going through.
You know what? It's I will leave it with this. Jason and I know somebody that is no longer with a very large organization. I'm not going to call her or them out. But she was awesome. She came from a very corporate background, very, very large Fortune 5 background in marketing. And then she came to the MSP ecosystem. And we had talked about transparency and about, engaging with the community and timeliness and all that stuff. And one of her chief concerns was in the enterprise realm, like, you hide your stuff. You definitely don't want your stockholders to see any of this. Like, you don't want to be, public persona is like, how it is. You tag a corporation on Twitter and they're responding nearly immediately if it has enough audience. And trying to explain that this market is not that. This market is very different. We not only seek out transparency, we value that and use that as a deciding factor for buying from different vendors. And all three of us have ranted at one point or another about a vendor making up some fantastic claims about, we're not going to get into that. That's a whole other angry yell at clouds rant. But, I'm just saying, if you follow three of us on LinkedIn, you're going to find something interesting at least once a week. What do you say we move on to the QBR one? I strongly invite everybody, go see the thread. go respond to the thread or the video. Go watch the video too. Put your comments, because I promise you, above everything else, all of the vendors are looking at these posts right now and looking internally and saying, did we screw up? Are we part of this? Whether they do something about it or not, I guarantee you they're talking about it at least. So with that said, I think we can skip the dear marketer, stop with the ishing. The TLDR is the person believes phishing is good enough. We don't need squishing, smishing, quishing, and all the other, and I can't say I disagree at all.
Yeah, XDR, MDR, ZDR, BSDR.
Oh, good lord.
ESDR, yes.
ESDR is the best. It's the only one so far that's gone to 4 letters.
Listen, how many of you guys are MSSSSSSSPs? So, all right, Jason, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't. The post is basically asking how people are conducting QBRs. Man, this is a topic that I care quite a bit about because I don't think we're doing a good enough job there. I will admit I haven't read all the comments on it, but it is a thing that is very important to MSPs. Like, there are a lot of questions. I know Henry has some data that he wants to share on how he is conducting QBRs, and I can talk a little bit about how we do ours once he shows his.
Sure. Yeah. So I know the poster on that was discussing whether QBRs are even worth it anymore, and I think it really depends on your approach and the client size that you're having those with. So we don't necessarily give every single one of our clients the same schedule, and as far as their QBRs go, it depends on, of course, their size, complexity, and any requirements that they have. But I absolutely think it's worth it. I mean, it generates a lot of project work for us, and it generates kind of that predictable future income streams for us as well. What we can expect on those different hardware refreshes, and keeps that communication value prop open so that we can demonstrate that value to our clients. So I don't know, Ray, if you want to share that Miro board.
Yeah. Let's see. I gotta grab the link real quick. Hold on.
Yep.
You put that in the. I got you. Perfect.
Yep.
I think I'm talking
effectively.
Shit. Where'd you?
You want me to resend that to you?
Yeah.
It was in our internal chat here.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. I see it. Yep.
Okay. So this is just a overview of some of the agenda items that we try and cover in our TBR or QBR, however you want to look at it. But the idea being that we have a standardized way that we are approaching these to make sure that we are hitting not just what we've done for the client, but focusing on, kind of what those potential risks are out there, and that risk tolerance discussion, future projects and so forth, and making sure that we have buy-in from them on what the budget and cost management needs to look like and so forth. So for us, these are kind of key agenda items to make sure that we're hitting that consistently with each of those, and that really does help drive a lot of those that future revenue in relationship building for us.
How long are your QBRs taking each time? Like with the client, I don't mean preparation.
Yeah, so not including prep. Typically, I would say we're spending about an hour with the client.
I'd say 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the size of the client for us.
That's okay, because it seems like a lot. It seems very comprehensive. Are you going over all of those things every time, or are you guys picking and choosing?
We go over all of them, but it's it may be a superficial view of some of it. So depending on, like, for example, a lot of clients aren't necessarily caring too much to dig into some of the performance metrics of their service that we've been providing, unless there's a clear issue there.
Yeah. Like the report that we have has like a lot of ticket level detail in it that we tend to not cover. We try to lead to, so we do similar to what Henry does, some of those same items we do. As far as why we still do them and why they're valuable, since that was the original ask, it's one of the few ways you get to sit down in front of a client, the decision maker there, and show value, right? Like especially in an all-you-can-eat world, they're after a while, if you aren't reminding them that you're providing value, 2 years down the road, they're going to look at that bill and they're going, man, I don't know what I'm getting for this. Because if you're doing a really good job, they don't have a lot of tickets, right? They don't have any security incidents, right? They don't have their technology just works. So it's very easy. Like, I've done this, I'm sure you've done it, right? Like, you're looking at that bill that you're paying every month and you're going, man, what am I getting for this bill? Like, I pay this
100%.
bill every
Yeah.
month and it's really expensive, and this shit just works, without reminding the client that this shit just works because of the work we're doing behind the scenes. They forget that. The other side of it is it makes the sales process, as Henry pointed out, for things like projects, pretty easy. One of the things we really are trying to hammer down, and most of our bigger clients are quite good at it. The smaller ones are the harder ones because they're not as operationally mature. We talk about budgeting and hardware lifecycle replacement, and it's not even just about lifecycle replacement, right? It's like customers looking at moving to a new building, right? It's about letting them know what spend is coming, because otherwise what happens is your account managers and your sales team, they end up with this, the only time you talk to me is when I need to spend money kind of sense, right? And the QBRs, whether or not you have them led by a sales resource or a technical resource, I believe the sales resource should be along. It gives an opportunity to engage with them in a way that isn't directly about selling.
I would, it's funny because we have expectations of clients. Clients have expectations of us. Every MSP has complained at some point or another. Oh, the client's moving offices, or they just bought a new location. They just hired somebody. They didn't tell us until, the person already started. Have you ever looked at the client and said, okay, well, the client's saying we had this budgeted for IT services, and now you're coming and saying I need a new EDR, or I need a new, SAT, or I need a new whatever. Like, how many MSPs are taking the customer's annual budget into account, or forget that they've actually discussed a budget and established one, but they're taking into account before their account manager is recommending things, as opposed to saying, this is the budget, this is how we're going to work it into the budget. I guarantee you that's going to be taken a lot better. But realize it's on both sides. And I would probably venture to guess the MSPs having regular QBRs, TBRs, whatever you want to call them, they're the ones less often surprised by these moves by their clients, because you create the opportunity to discuss those, and they want to discuss those with you.
Well, and to kind of come full circle here too, like that's the opportunity to have that discussion about the all-you-can-eat ticket issues, and to have these education moments with those clients.
Thanks for joining, Emilio. I appreciate you, bro. Every time he pops in. No, I agree with all of that wholeheartedly. Like, you should be having those relationships. I want to ask you, because and we're done printing right on time. So, what should we call it? Well, it's good to wrap the show too. Actually, not bad timing. But let me ask you one last question, guys, and we'll leave our A-team discussion for the MMN Discord so we can go have it there, or we'll discuss it next week. But one of the constant complaints, especially with smaller MSPs that are just starting to get into it, and I get it's a tough thing to like have these, get the client to get buy-in on these conversations. How are you proposing the QBRs, TBRs, whatever you're doing? How are you proposing them to the clients to make sure they know there's value and they actually want to do these things, right? Not it's a have to do it. It's a they want to do this. Henry?
Poorly.
So I think the way that we try to approach it is by saying, look, you hired us on to be a partner of yours. And as part of that relationship, we need to make sure that we're aligned with your goals and strategy, and supporting that as best as possible. This is our checks and balances to make sure that we're doing that.
Yeah,
and that seems to create enough buy-in there.
On our side, it depends, right? Like, if this is a new client, then it's easy. We've actually used it as a selling point, and it's been successful. Like, they want to meet with us. The ones that are more tricky are clients that have been clients a long time. When you were immature in the TDR process, and maybe you had a sales guy leading it, and he just went in there to like sell, then it's really hard to convince the client that it's value. So you really have to have like, okay, look, you need to meet with me. Like, I need you to do this. You meet with them once and you knock their socks off, and then it's never a problem anymore, right? Like so do it once, propose once, like, hey, and I really need the key decision makers and the executives. Like, most of us advertise for all you can eat packages at their VCIO. I need a CIO level leadership discussion with you, right? Like, if you want me to provide that service, then I need to meet with your executive team. I don't need to do it every week in your leadership team meeting, but quarterly or annually or whatever the case is, depending on the client side, I need to meet with your leadership team as your CIO to have that discussion. And then if you deliver a good meeting, one of the things that Alex Farling always says to do, which I think is amazing, ask at the end of the meeting, was this worth your time? Just directly
question,
ask.
right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
scary question.
And if you 100%, it's a scary question. And if you fucked up in the past and had really bad TBRs, be transparent, own it. To go completely full circle, right? Just be transparent and own it. Yeah, I get it. These sucked before because the sales guy wasn't doing what we wanted him to do. Especially if he's no longer with the company, it's easy to go, he's not here anymore. Like, let's restart this and kick this and start it over.
I like that. Actionable items, good and bad examples of what can happen. And Henry shared his Miro link there for his TBR VCIO workflow. Thank you very much, Henry. That's very generous of you. All right, gentlemen. Henry, I know you got to get back to your to Rico and Pac and the amazing event that is TechCon Unplugged. Please give them my best. I love those people. I love those gentlemen dearly. Jason, I know you got your stuff to go off to. What are you guys doing next, Henry? What do you got? You're always moving around. What do you got going on next, Henry?
I think I'm in Orlando next week, and then where do I go from there? Yeah, I think this is a crazy month. So there's a Threat Locker thing going on next week in Orlando, and then I will be in Denver for an event coming up there, and then looking forward to PAX 8 Beyond in Berlin.
Cool. Jason?
I have GurCon in then 2 weeks, and then Wild West Hacking Fest where Matt and I are speaking a couple weeks after that, and then the next one most people are likely to encounter me at that don't hang out in the shady security conferences is Connect.
Nice. I will be at ScaleCon at the beginning of next month, and then I got another out of industry conference in the middle of the month, and then I'll be over in Franklin with Producers Club, and then I'll see everybody over at Connect. Excuse me. So what do we got? I think this is a crazy month, Henry Timm. Every single month. I hope you don't own or rent a house anywhere, because that's got to be the most useless expense ever.
He lives in a scout camp. Sets a tent up when he's there.
Yeah.
Henry's an Eagle Scout and just kept going. You just I'm using these skills. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for hanging out with us for the past 45, 50 minutes. Hope we've educated, entertained, and maybe piqued some interest in some topics. Carry it over to the MMN Discord or Tech Degenerates or MSP Geek or all three. Love to talk to you guys. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
See ya.